What's up, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, coming to you live on the CHTV social channels after a 40-40 tie between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, I don't have much for you here tonight. That was a very frustrating football game where certainly the Packers came out looking good on offense, moving the ball. Should have been up 14-0 until that blocked extra point that goes back for two. And kind of the tenor of the game really changed there, obviously. But that doesn't have anything to do with Jeff Hafley's crew being unable to stop a nosebleed, let alone the Dallas Cowboys offense. Whether it was, quick game, three-step drop, or the occasional shots that they took, Packers didn't have any answers. And it really felt for the first time this season that Jeff Hafley had no answers and no ability to change up his approach. If he wasn't getting home with four, certainly wasn't going to commit huge numbers, although he did obviously pressure from time to time. But what really mystified you is the play on the back end, or the approach on the back end, where they continuously played off coverage, soft coverage, allowing free releases off the line of scrimmage for Dallas's wide receivers again and again and again. That to me was a bit puzzling. Not that that was the approach coming in. Certainly I understand the game plan, but I guess I'm not going to say inability, because I'm sure he could change that approach if he wanted, but the seeming kind of refusal to change much of anything when it came to the approach on defense. Lots of too high safety stuff. Now they interchange, sometimes cover two, sometimes cover three, sometimes interchangeable safeties, things of that nature. But yeah, once it became very apparent that the Cowboys were content just paper cutting them to death, that they never really had an answer for it. And obviously the loss of Devontae Wyatt, who goes down on a play where he does a phenomenal job recognizing a screen, but losing him certainly played into it. They could not really hold up front on some of the more kind of power running kind of plays and calls that they had between the tackles. But yeah, just the inability to get off the field, lots of third and manageable for the Cowboys. And hey, credit Brian Schottenheimer for his game plan and his play calls throughout the night. They did a very, very good job of getting the ball out of Prescott's hands as quickly as possible to make sure that that rush couldn't get home, right? Every once in a while, you were presented with an opportunity where Dak was back there on a I don't think I ever saw a 7-step drop, but kind of a deep drop where you needed at that moment for either Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, somebody to win up front. And it just, all the precious few moments that those kind of opportunities presented themselves, nobody seemingly won up front. Now, that said, I hear you already, Packers fans. Yes, there were certainly missed holding calls, things of that nature, but that's true in every game. That's not unusual. That's not different than any other week in the NFL or any other game the Packers have played or will play. At some point, you got to beat your man clean. And for the most part, the Packers couldn't do it. And it was interesting to see on Parsons' return to Dallas, they had a very good plan for him. They did a very good job of bottling him up. But I will say, he essentially wins that game for the Packers with that tackle of Dak at the end. Well, not wins it, obviously preserves the tie. Let's not get carried away. But if he doesn't tackle Dak from behind there at the drive the Cowboys had in overtime, where he comes completely across the formation to do so, he's probably running into the end zone. And then the Packers got to get a touchdown to even tie the game. All of that said, on the flip, Jordan Love in the offense with a banged up offensive line. Certainly there were moments early on where you noticed how rough it was up front. Couldn't really get the run game going. Fits and starts in protection. But I'll say, as the game went on, that line settled in very nicely, both in pass protection, but more impressively in their run blocking. There were some real avenues available to Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson, who, shout out Emmanuel Wilson. I thought he played a hell of a game tonight. Excellent work from Wilson throughout the contest. But yeah, Jordan Love, what should have been the game winner to Romeo Doubs on that deep slant in the end zone. Just, I thought, an outstanding performance. Now, I know everyone will talk about the end of the game and their operation and the fact that they took so much time getting down just to the red zone, let alone trying to get in the end zone. Definitely a car wreck of sorts when it came to their management of the clock. I do think they were petrified, and I can never hear the damn questions in the presser afterwards. I kept waiting for someone to ask Matt if he was, maybe not scared, but very maybe overly concerned about, you know, uh, not leaving any time on the clock, which feels weird in an overtime game, but uh, it just felt like they got way too cute. And obviously, I thought they did a great job driving down. And that fourth down conversion of Matthew Golden was a strike. Great work by the rookie, who had a very kind of crazy game tonight. But yeah, that was a tough one, very tough one to swallow, tough pill to swallow for a team that Micah Parsons himself said, "Give us 20, score 20, and we'll win the game." Well, Packers had to score twice that tonight just to tie it. Now, going to the bye week, hopefully get a little bit healthier, maybe get some guys back. Obviously, mostly up front along the offensive line. Beat the Bengals, and we're on our way, But it's going to be a long time, a long 2 weeks to wait for that. But with that said, let's get to your questions and comments, because I'm sure you've got a few. And first off, shout out Nick. Thanks for joining the Carry the G Club. Really appreciate the support, man. Joe, how you doing, man? Thanks for the super chat. 40-40. Okay. I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody did. I thought the Cowboys would play them tough. Certainly thought their offense could move the ball even without CeeDee Lamb, but I think Dak's been playing very well this year. Certainly didn't see him putting up 40 on this Packers defense. S, what's up, man? Maybe Rodgers wasn't the issue when it came to clock management. We win the game with better clock management. Oh, well, cheers to the line tonight. Yeah, the management at the end of the game was brutal. And I'll also say something I should have said there at the top during my kind of opener there. I was glad to hear Matt LaFleur admit he got aggressive at the end of the half, and it cost them big time. I mean, clearly that touchdown, if you just kneel it out or just run it and go to the half, they don't score that extra touchdown at the end of the first half. And I will say, and I got people in my mentions talking, well, it was different, whatever, but this is part of the gig. When you try to, quote, get aggressive, you got aggressive at the end of the half, and it absolutely burned them. Not unlike back in, I think it was 2019 when the Eagles came to Lambeau and they tried to take a shot and Big Dog missed a block and Rodgers got strip sack fumbled and the Eagles scored at the end of that half, and same shit. Can't do it. You got to be so on point at the end of a half. You cannot make mistakes, and they most certainly did. Yeah, that strip sack fumble is changing the entire kind of face of the game. No doubt about it. Raha, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. Feels like maybe the cornerbacks are who they thought we were, and it's pass rusher bust on this D. I think yes and no. I think Nate Hobbs going down certainly didn't help. It's hard for me to say yes or no, just simply because of the approach never really changing. Now, there were obviously times, there were moments where they were playing some man match coverage and guys were getting beat, no doubt about it. But we also saw a lot of off coverage, a lot of zone coverage, a lot of keep it all in front of you. Who knows what happens if they're a tad more aggressive, play a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage. Maybe they get burned. Maybe the Cowboys put up 50. But certainly it all works in concert, right? The idea being you want to be able to break on these routes. You want that pressure to get to the quarterback so you can be on the front foot and break up a pass or, pick it off, hopefully. But yeah, it was an unfortunate night, a disappointing night, I would say, all three levels of the defense. I mean, to me, the worst thing that we saw from the Packers defense tonight was the tackling or lack thereof. I mean, you could probably make a blooper reel of all the missed tackles, whether it was Edgerrin Cooper, who missed a bunch, the safeties, Xavier McKinney in the hole there. We saw everybody taking turns missing tackles. That was really disappointing. Portmaster, what's up, man? I knew Wyatt was good. Didn't know he was the entire defense, though. His presence was definitely missed. Yeah, like I said at the top there, man, once he went down, the kind of run game for the Cowboys between the tackles, especially, definitely opened up a little bit, right? I don't think the guys were terrible up front in that regard, but they were certainly attacking it. And I thought Nazir Stackhouse kind of got a baptism by fire on a few of those early down plays. But yeah, it was certainly a loss that stung, and that it was felt throughout the contest. Portmaster, thanks again, man. And we got to sit on a goddamn tie for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's what I was saying before, man. It's going to be a long 2 weeks before we get to that Bengals game. M, how you doing, man? Thanks for the super chat. Safe to say that in this rare circumstance, Schottenheimer ate Halfley's lunch. I know there were missed tackles, but this felt more than that. Yeah, man. The game plan that Schottenheimer had and the game he called were excellent. And I was saying it on the chat and nobody wanted to hear it, but the approach for getting the ball out of, Dak Prescott's hands in rhythm, mostly on three-step quick game type throws, that you want your front to cook, but it's impossible to cook. There were so many instances. There were so many moments where usually Micah, but every once in a while it was Rashawn or even LVN at points, like would win quickly on the edge, but the ball's out of the quarterback's hands. And that's why I kept getting so frustrated about the approach on the backside. Like at some point, aren't you sitting on that? Aren't you like calling the guys up? And I know the worry is they're going to try then to go over the top, but man, you're just letting them paper cut you to death. And that's what it felt like all night long. And again, credit to Schottenheimer. He absolutely had a great approach and called a phenomenal game. Evan, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you, man. My main takeaways: 1, Jordan Love was money in the clutch tonight. 2, felt like the O-line sucked it up a little bit down the stretch and just about got it done. 3, huge bravo to McManus. 4, have to find a way out of that Gary contract. You see, I was just saying that on the chat though. It's like, no, yeah, Gary certainly wasn't gangbusters tonight, but the idea that he's terrible suddenly because he didn't make a play, that's ridiculous. He was leading the league in sacks coming into this week. Like, it's one game, man. No, you don't need to get out of that contract at all. What else we got? We got lots of super chats here. Steve, thanks for the super chat, man. All I know after 4 weeks is that this team is weird as hell. Fair. Very fair. Brandon, I agree. Ron Torbert makes my head hurt. Tough to watch. He always has been, always will be. What's insane to me is that gentleman has, if I remember right, I think he's officiated 2 Super Bowls. I know he's done at least 1. But man, the need for a conference after every single fucking call. Oh my God, burn it to the ground. And missing that grounding penalty. Look, maybe the Cowboys still go down, right? Cowboys been marching up and down the field all night. It's the Dez dropped it argument Packers fans always make, right? Like, okay, even if he scores there, Rodgers and the crew have been marching up and down the field of the Cowboys all day. They just score again, right? Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on the grounding call or non-call. It's like, it's frustrating as hell. Definitely would have put him behind the sticks, but it's not like the Packers were stopping him. They probably would have ran some 15-yard dig and gotten right back into third manageable. But it is frustrating because it was so obvious and such a horrible non-call. Simitovich, what's up, man? Well, we got a scoregami. Any word on Jacobs? Go Pack, go. No, I don't even think Matt was asked about it after the game. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow. Goodra King. Boy, this team needs the bye. Ruined my birthday. Don't let it ruin your birthday. Happy birthday, first of all. And second of all, look, the offense, who we were all very upset about and worried about because of the offensive line, etc., marched up and down the field. Jordan Love looked great. Scored 40 points. No, defense didn't come to play, but they take something positive away from it. Don't let it ruin your birthday. Happy birthday. Braden, thank you, sir. This game is brought to you by ThetaCare. Go visit your neighborhood cardiologist today. On another note, let's talk about Emmanuel Wilson stepping up and balling out tonight. Mentioned it at the top. Hell of a fucking game from Emmanuel Wilson, man. Everything they asked him to do, he did it at an elite level tonight. I mean, from pass pro to obviously the running he did, especially between the tackles, got some really tough yards, and the screen game, the receptions. I mean, just a really, really good performance from Wilson. Patrick, thank you, sir. Lack of depth on the defensive line and cornerbacks getting toasted. Is this game the preseason sicko Packers fans' dream? Now, some of it, I think, again, is the approach, the offensive approach that the Cowboys had. But yeah, got to improve. Certainly need a bunch of improvement after tonight. Luke, yeah, that about sums it up. Well stated. Raha, thanks again, man. What in the world even is intentional grounding anymore? Who knows? Who knows? Receiver in the area, apparently the area of, I guess, I don't know, Houston? No idea. No clue, man. Here's the other thing. He's clearly not outside the pocket. He's dead smack in the middle of the pocket. Doesn't get like even close to trying to get outside the pocket. Throws it into a wide swath of green where there's absolutely no receiver and doesn't get to the line of scrimmage. It's like everything you need to call grounding isn't grounding, apparently. Kevin, thank you, sir. For all the Packers fans who have been so critical of Love, he has been amazing to start the season. Sometimes he seems to lose his brain, but he's been awesome. Also, why did Hafley play soft coverage all game on the outside? Kevin, your guess is as good as mine on that last part. On the first part, 1,000,000,000% correct. Jordan Love balled out tonight, especially considering the makeshift offensive line he had in front of him. There were a number of times where he made great adjustments at the line of scrimmage, got them into better calls. There's a particular Josh Jacobs run where Jacobs busts through the left side of the line that was so well done, calling out the pressure from the right, apparently changing the call to his left. Just great stuff from Jordan tonight. Mike Witt, how are you, man? Last week, our offense got exposed. This week, our defense got exposed. That being said, when we got the ball last, I thought Romeo was going to get 4 at the end of it. Go Pack, go. Yeah, they certainly got their lunch handed to them on the defensive side of the ball, down in and down out. Now, there were a smattering of moments, no question about it. But yeah, it's hard to watch on defense. Mimsy, the all gas, no brakes guy sure had no urgency. Yeah, and what's weird is hearing Matt after the game talk about, well, our players didn't have any urgency. Well, isn't that your job to get them to have some urgency, to know what the situation is, to light a fire under their ass? And hell, I don't know, practice as though you've been in this spot and they have to react with urgency. I don't know, man. It's just, that was bizarre. The whole last drive was nuts to me. But hey, again, you put up 40 fucking points in an NFL game, you should win the game. And it's hard for me to get too upset about anything on the offensive side of the ball. Professor Flex, what's up, man? I feel so unsatisfied. Felt like we got conservative for the tie. What the fuck was that? Milking the clock. Just go win the damn game. Yeah, I talked about it at the top there, though. But yes, they got way too cute, trying to milk as much time off the clock as possible, running the ball, etc. Man, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But the fact that they salvaged it is, noteworthy and fine and good. To get 40 points on the road, I mean, with a banged up offensive line, that's all good stuff. But you had the opportunity to win it, and you certainly seemed to turtle. That's disconcerting and disappointing. Last Son of Krypton, thank you, sir. Whatever they have to do to get more touches for Savion Williams, I am here for it. He is hard to tackle. Crossers, slants, get the ball in his hands. I am interested to see if they start utilizing him more in kind of traditional receiver stuff, but I'm with you, man. I love seeing him with the ball in his hand. I think he's shifty as hell, and he is powerful, as you indicate. There was one play in particular where he got hit at the line of scrimmage. I think he dragged 3 dudes like 4 yards. Yeah, he is fun to watch, and I hope we do see him involved even more. Big Al, what's up, man? I don't know. I just don't know why we can't play complementary football. Last week, our offense couldn't get going, and now our defense couldn't get going. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as the other team had a better plan and executed better, which is certainly the case for the Cowboys offense tonight. The Dak played really well. I had people in the chat during our live stream like, oh, Dak sucks. It's like, no. If you think Dak sucks, you do not know ball in any way, shape, or form. And he was very good tonight. It was a very good plan. And when he needed to make a big play, he certainly made them. Big throws in big moments. He did it several times tonight. And that's not even talking about like how he played so in control and so in rhythm and just got the ball out of his hands quickly and was really decisive. You got it. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap. Abdul, what's up, man? Hey, Aaron, another week, another game lost / tied from a special teams mishap and the blocked extra point and the lost kickoff return of regulation going to the 45. You ain't lying, man. I can't defend it. I don't know what to say other than Rich Bisaccia. What exactly is it you do here? I don't know, man. That blocks extra point is absolutely mind blowing to me, especially when you watch Musgrave on the replay, who takes the outside guy and the inside guy comes slanting in and is the one that gets the block. I mean, you are taught as a child, you are taught when you're in Pop Warner in any kind of protection, field goal, offensive, from scrimmage, whatever. You're talking about a back, blitz pickup, whatever. You work from the inside out. You deal with the closest threat. You don't fan out and let a guy through. Like, it is so rudimentary. And I don't know how much Musgrave has been on that wing. Maybe that's a new thing this week. I don't know. But I can't imagine they didn't spend all week talking about field goal protection given the mishap in the Browns game. How do you go through a whole week after you've had a kick block and still have guys not knowing what the they're supposed to be doing on the most basic fundamental level? I don't know, man. It's unbelievable. And you're absolutely right. It's a billion %. You don't have that, you're up 14-0. It's 38-40 at the end. Or there's not even going to overtime because they don't have those 2 points. Unbelievable. Matthew, thanks to the super chat. Leave Bisaccia in Dallas. Tempting. Ian, what's up, brother? Aaron, you won. No, Ian, you won. Hey, let's call it a tie. What the hell? Oh, well, it's not a loss and we've got to buy. Cowboys offense had a better plan. They did. I just wish we would have fought back a little bit and done something different than we've been doing the whole game. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Don Vito, thank you, sir. With Parsons double teamed constantly, where is LVN, Gary, even Cooper and Walker, though he played well tonight? It's a Walker. Yeah, I thought Walker did play well. Like I said earlier, they had very, very limited actual pin your ears back, get after it opportunities. I would say 5 or 6, maybe, right? You want them, you need them to win at least one of those. And they just couldn't. There, I know Lucas Van Ness got real close. I mean, hell, Carl Brooks made it happen until he swiped the face mask, right? They kept getting close, but no one could seal the deal. And that's frustrating, man. Rob, what's up, man? McManus hurt on the game-tying kick. Grit. Well, he got hurt when he had to cover that return because we have an all-world special teams coverage unit, obviously. Abdul, do you think Dallas gave everyone the blueprint on how to beat us? I don't really believe in blueprints, so to speak. I think I've been saying all year, really, looking at this defense, the best way to beat us is run it up the middle, burn that clock, try and keep that defense in manageable third downs. And that's what they did all night. Now, you got to have a very good quarterback, somebody who can deliver the ball on time with accuracy, down in and down out, if you're going to take the approach of trying to paper cut the defense to death. As far as the flip side, I don't think the Dallas Cowboys gave anybody the blueprint on how to stop the Packers offense. That is for sure not the case. Lewis. Did we hire Joe Barry back for this week? Apparently. Certainly felt like it. Mike, thanks again, man. Rashawn was very quiet tonight, and number one seemed like he wasn't healthy. Seems like that back might be an issue. I think Morgan should be starting at left tackle. Walker has not played the greatest this year. That is an interesting conversation, that last part. I do think Walker has been pretty inconsistent, and it's unfortunate, but I do think that's worth a conversation, and maybe it's something they talk about during the bye week if Aaron Banks is right and able to take back over at left guard. Morgan did look quite good this summer at left tackle. And like I said, man, at some point, if you continue to be inconsistent, it might be next man up. or maybe they start rotating, you know? But again, and I want to say this about Jordan Morgan and Darian Kennard, two guys who were in there on the road, hostile environment. It was rough early, no question, but I thought they got much better as the game went on. And especially in pass protection, they were giving Jordan time. And Jordan had a really good night, but he only has a really good night because it's working up front. They played well down the stretch of this game, and that's not nothing. That's a real, like I said, real tough environment. Road, it's loud. You got to look in or silent count. It's not easy, man. They played well down the stretch. Simatovic, what's up, man? Got to tie one to go 16-1-1. Okay. Sully, thanks to the super chat. Dustin, thank you, sir. I think the Parson return pressure hindered the D. I don't buy that. I think it was much more Dallas having a very good plan, more than was any kind of perceived pressure. Brian, thank you, sir. How about that 4th and 6 conversion in OT? Loved it. Also, clock management is hard. What would you have done differently in the final 20 seconds? Taking more shots at the end zone, probably, but it's easy to say that. It really depends on the coverage. What sucks, what I would have loved to see is on the play where Diggs triggers, because he's a vet and he's seen this a million times, on the swing kind of screen to Golden there. Would have loved it if that had been a pump and go, fake it, have them bite up, and then kind of jet someone, probably maybe Romeo on the perimeter out into the end zone, right? I mean, it's easy to say that post game hindsight, but yeah, the initial thing you're talking about, though, that 4th and 6, man, what a throw from Jordan. Outstanding work from the rookie, breaking open in the middle there. It's not something they had gone to a ton tonight, and man, they had to have it. They had it. That's pretty damn good. I was ready for, especially after the slot fade shot to Wicks, which, by the way, should have been caught. Now, that's a ball from Jordan. But I didn't see them running. It sure looked like Golden was the read, like the initial read. Sure didn't look like Jordan had, time to survey the field, so to speak. And that's a throw your nuts on the table moment for kind of everybody involved there. This is good stuff. Javier, what's up? Hobbs was trash, completely disappointed. Man, you're so upset you can't even type. I didn't think he was trash. I thought he had some rough moments, no doubt about it. But I also thought the defense got really rough after he left. I would like to go back and watch it a little bit more, because you never really know. You see guys have somebody catch a ball in front of them, and you're automatically like, that's that guy getting beat, whatever. But sometimes, it is a little different once you look at the coach's tape and you look at what the construct of the coverage is and who's responsible for what. I definitely didn't think he was trash, though. There were a couple times they tried to work out on the perimeter, and he did a great job of shedding blocks and getting to the ball carrier and making an initial contact to limit a gain. It's the totality of the performance, not just getting beat a couple times. Abdul, what's up, man? Valentine was rough. Can't imagine that CD would have done. Why didn't they put Nixon on Pickens? Well, yeah, they don't traditionally travel too much. They have mostly played sides. And, you can say, okay, we got to put Nixon on Pickens, but they don't play a ton of man coverage. They're mostly a zone-driven team, some match stuff included. But it's not Madden. You're not line up against CB or wide receiver 1, click. It just ain't how it works. Robert, can't go 15-1-1 if you don't tie a game. Cheers or whatever. Mostly whatever, actually. Ol Hercher. Can someone explain the offensive sequence before half, especially when Dallas already had momentum as it was at the moment? Cut your losses. Couldn't agree more. I was told all last week, though, that Matt LaFleur is never aggressive enough, and he's not aggressive, and he's too conservative. Well, you got aggressive at the end of the half, and it absolutely bit them in the ass. And he said it in his post-game press conference. But now everyone's like, oh, I didn't mean that. Well, you only want him to be aggressive when you want him to be aggressive. And I'm not saying you sir. OLL. I know you're not saying this. But I'm with you. I thought for a bit, like Corey and I were joking about it in the live stream. Like, what does he usually do in this scenario? Yeah, he'll probably run it, get the hell out of there, get into halftime. I thought that was 100% going to be the approach. It was not, and it absolutely cost them. It helped cost them the game. Ed, what's up, man? Really surprised that our defense looks so average. Tie game that Dallas won. Nobody won it. It's a tie. Ol, again, what's up? What are some realistic fixes / adjustments you hope to see beyond guys getting healthy on the other side of the bye week in all phases coaching? Well, that's a huge video. I'll do a separate video about that. I will say the number one thing on defense is tackling. Man, I get there's no live action in practice and there's no ability to take guys to the ground, so the physicality is hard to replicate. But man, they got to get back to fundamentals and tackling. I mean, getting beat is one thing, or getting a completion is one thing. But man, there were so many instances, especially in a game where the approach for the offense is clearly get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, get it on the flat or in the perimeter or whatever, and let a guy work. Well, okay, our defense is there quite often missing the initial tackle. And that 1 or 2 yard gain turns into a 8-yard gain. And now they're in second and short rather than second and long. That was their whole night on offense. And the Packers just could not make that initial tackle way too many times. That to me is where my focus would be. Mike, thanks again. One more thing. Collinsworth is terrible. Well, that's why we do watch parties, so you don't have to listen to Collinsworth. Nick, thank you again. Really appreciate it. Sample size of Matt LaFleur teams seems big enough now to ask, you think he can get a team over the mental blocks? A few times each year, it feels like same 2 to 3 boneheaded penalties per game, lazy tackling, total no-shows, etc. Thanks, Nags. I do. I think long-term, yeah, he's got everything he needs to go win a championship. But there are bumps in the road in any season where you do. Now, obviously, yes, got to get healthy, but there's a time where the team has to grow up. And I know they're still the, quote, youngest team in the league, but as Brian keeps saying, they've played a lot of ball at this point. So if you're continually making the same mistakes, maybe it's time for someone else to give it a chance at your gig. You know, it's a tough approach that as a coach, you're going to have to find ways to reach your guys in areas where you've undoubtedly been preaching all this stuff for years. That's the trick, is making it fresh and trying to unlock what is clearly still kind of a problem. Andrew, thank you, sir. Feels like a lot of questions with no answers. No, I think time will give you some answers. I mean, you're just fresh off the game. You got to look at the tape. You got to see what happened, what really happened, not what you emotionally feel happened. I feel like this week we'll get some answers, especially whenever we hear from Jeff Hafley next is going to be interesting. Ian, thank you, sir. This tie is only part of the Packers Super Bowl story that is brought up as the material for Super Bowl week. Thanks for all you do, bro. Going to stop Goat Hafley talk for a bit. Yeah, after this week, probably a good idea. John, thank you, sir. Green Bay could have used a guy like Kenny Clark tonight. Yeah, I mean, Kenny was flashing tonight too. He was juiced to get after the Packers, no doubt about it. Bill, what's up, man? Complimentary football was lacking again. That includes coaching. I'm disappointed, but I still believe. Let's get healthy. Yeah, it's hard to play complimentary football when one side of the ball is doing very, very little to hold up its end of the bargain. Benjamin, thank you, sir. Dobbs has been terrific in the red zone. Love got to be better in his own territory. I mean, sure. I don't know what more you want from Jordan Love tonight, man. I mean, I thought he kind of balled out tonight, dude. I don't. Yeah, did he miss a throw here or there? Did he have to throw some away? Like, yeah, no doubt. I mean, the strip sack fumble, that's really tough when the call is try and push the ball down the field. He's holding the ball so the guys can get downfield. I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me. Dustin, what's up, man? Hate the Cowboys, but Dak seems like a class act. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely agree. Lewis, what's up? Fair question. Game management has been an issue in consecutive weeks. Time for blame game or all hands on deck? Well, here's my question to you. Blame game from who? What what is the blame game going to solve on our end, right? Look, I've had people bitching about Matt LaFleur for any number of reasons for years. Look, has that changed anything? Does that make a material difference? Man, bitch away, but I don't know what the blame game is going to solve. I have zero doubt that the frustration tonight and for the next 2 weeks, which is really unfortunate, is going to be palpable. But as I always say, man, people said the same shit about Andy Reid early in his career. And you can look it up. He butchered the clock, game after game after game. It still happens every once in a while. You know, it's unfortunate. But the blame game, I don't know. If that's what you need to do, go right ahead. Brian, what's up, man? Felt like Dallas got 46 yards every first down, never behind the sticks, key to their success tonight. 1 billion% correct. They won on first almost exclusively. It was very, very, very rare to get them into a second and long. They were winning that first down almost every drive. Jamie, what's up? Firing Matt LaFleur is nonsense, but it's fair to say that his in-game situational stuff is not great. He's just not consistent with it. Feels gut-based to me. I mean, he does have people in his ear, Connor Lewis being the most foremost, talking about tendencies, numbers, what have you, and everybody on the party line, whether it's Stenovich, whoever, they've got all the data. They've got all the kind of information you could ever need to make whatever decisions you need to make. Yeah, sometimes he does go with his gut. No doubt about that. I think that's kind of what happened at the end of the first half tonight. But if you're always going by the data and you're always going by the analytics, then you're pretty predictable. I don't know. I feel you, but it's at some point you as the coach make decisions. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Michael, what's up, man? What did you think about the performance of LVN? Came close a couple times on some rushes, but overall, I thought he got washed out a little bit too much against the run. But that said, there were more than a handful of occasions where he either walks when they used him along the interior a couple times, and he absolutely walks the guard back into Dak's lap. The problem, of course, again, the ball's out of his hands quick. And he had an almost sack where he got around I think it was the left end, where he's flying, he bends around the tackle and puts his hand out and it almost had Dak, and almost was the case for pretty much everyone up front tonight. Andrew, if only we had one extra point, who knew? Oh, that's right. Everybody, immediately, as soon as the kick was blocked. Yes. Lewis, finally saw new kickoff rules hurt us tonight. I mean, only because they didn't execute. I mean, the rules are just rules. The players and the coaches hurt them. The rule didn't hurt them. You got to execute. Riley, what's up, man? Jordan lucky that last ball bounced off the player. That last ball? You mean the one in the end zone? I guess. Yeah, sure. What? I mean, we're all lucky a meteorite didn't hit us and wipe out the earth tonight. We're pretty lucky. Jerome, what's up, man? Still haven't lost at Jerry's World, glass half full. That's true. Well, they were 7-0 coming into tonight. Now they're 7-0-1. Still never lost. Matthew, man, you are up early. 2010, we were 3-3 in week 6, won the Super Bowl. Go Pack, go. What I love, Matthew, is your eternal optimism. And I do know there are plenty of people in this chat, online, whatever, that will try to douse that optimism. Don't let it always be you, man. Because I know there are people sick of hearing about Super Bowl talk with this team. It's for good reason. They got pushed around last week. Defense was a sieve tonight. I get it. But I love your optimism. Don't ever change. Abdul, what's up? 4 weeks in, anything worry you about this team that seems to be likely not easily fixable? You know me, Abdul, I only worry about my children. If you're talking from a coach's standpoint, looking at their roster and going, That Devontae Wyatt injury is disconcerting. The guys in the back end, I have confidence that they can figure it out and get better and do a lot better with more rush up front. Like, to me, that's no question. But man, you're going to have teams running the ball. You're going to have teams doing this approach as far as getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly. You got to play up. You're going to need to hold up front. You get thin quick if you're running the, Nazir Stackhouse and Colby Woodens of the world out there for 45, 50 snaps a game. We'll see. Soder, impressed you're still up. What's up, buddy? Is the inability to generate turnovers now a thing? It feels like it might be a thing, especially if they are going to play off. Well, that's the question. Like, if you are playing off, doesn't that mean that you should be at the balls of your feet ready to pounce, knowing that the ball is going to come out quickly? Doesn't help when you're 10 yards off, right? And I get sometimes like that's the call and whatever, but man, yeah. And what's, somewhat frustrating too is on that first deep shot up the left sideline, the kind of rainbow that Dak puts in there for Pickens. I thought Evan Williams was going to pick that off. And Evan goes, and I think he's maybe a step away from being able to do so, but man, that's your ball. Go get your ball. That's your ball. Attack the ball. Like, there's a corner there. He's worried about the man. You go get the ball. I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe the mentality needs to shift a little bit, but yeah, it feels like with a vision-based defense, and if you got this opponent who's trying to throw short game all game long, attack the ball. Flores, what's up? Why did we show the Joe Barry defense on the 3rd and long to the Pickens, Carrington playing off like 20 yards? It's a great question for Jeff Hafley. I do not know. It was incredibly frustrating. Wow, we have a rock star in our midst. Matty Day in the house. What's up, buddy? How much of Dallas's offensive plan was to protect Dak from Micah / attack the Kenny Clark-sized hole so as to prove Jerry right, and it happened to work? Anyway, weirdly unworried about this unique game. I don't know if it's so much like, okay, that was the directive from Jerry, like we got to show that I'm right, but it makes the most sense, right? We've been talking about it all year. How would you attack the Packers? Well, I'd run the ball between the tackles as much as possible and try to stay ahead of the sticks. Now, for the most part, it was successful, but even when it wasn't, when they got into like 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 7, they were still throwing like, 4 or 5 yard pass to get into 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2. And that's where you want to live. So I don't think it was so much directed by, Jerry up top or whatever. But I just think that's a very sensible way to attack the Packers. Jake, what's up, man? So I'm going to say I was overreacting last week. Matt is not the problem. Our team needs to just get healthy and communicate. I think that last part is a big key. I do think, as far as what they're trying to do from situational kind of moments, whether it is on defense, whether it is on offense, especially there at the end, game management, clock management, it does feel like it's a bit disjointed, right? Now you say, Matt's not the problem. Well, that is Matt's job, is to get them to communicate, to get those spots to operate smoothly. Now there are moments where you see it all working. There is certainly, times where you feel complimentary football, certainly those first 2 games, but yeah, man, it does need to be a hell of a lot smoother in every aspect. And don't even start on special teams. My God. JJ, what's up? Nags, are you confident Matt LaFleur is a Super Bowl winning head coach? And if yes, point me to instances in the last 7 years that makes you confident. I absolutely think he's a Super Bowl coach. I've talked about this a million times. Plenty of games you could point to. Obviously, the playoff game in Dallas is the one that everyone will point to. But there are certainly instances, Chiefs game that same year, where they needed to pound the football to keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. That was a smart play. They had A.J. Dillon pounding the rock, played keep away from Mahomes, won that game. Come out the next week, phenomenal game plan against the Lions. Big game, national television. Everyone gets so excited when those things happen, but then they lose to a Tommy DeVito, and everyone's like, he's not a Super Bowl winning coach. Man, John Harbaugh has gone through trials and tribulations, I always talk about Andy Reid. There's plenty of coaches that win tons of games and have won Super Bowls even that have, repeated rough parts, rough patches, rough stuff in their on their resume, right? But there's no doubt. Look at Sean McVay. Sean McVay has won a Super Bowl, but he had to get to a Super Bowl and get his ass kicked by Bill Belichick and then try and get back again, which he did and won it. You know, everyone talks about McVay and his clock management. He's too conservative and blah, 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 blah. But he's won a Super Bowl. Yes, absolutely. Matt can do it. Patrick, what's up, man? Counterpoint to firing Bisaccia. He rips really smelly farts and tells dirty jokes in team meetings. Now, everyone in the building loves him. And obviously that doesn't really do much or show much on game days, but people in that building swear blind about how valuable he is. I don't know how or why, but that's what I'm told. Jamie Orth, thank you. Going for it on 4th and 2 increases your chances of winning. Throwing with 19 seconds left before the half from your 16 is just reckless. Not at all the same. They're both aggressive, right? They're both aggressive. Well, I'm sorry. Are we talking about words here? Aggressive. Everyone's talking about aggressive. They're both aggressive. Point blank. You can't tell me they're not. Don't lie to me. Oh, it's reckless then, but smart here? Like, no, they're both aggressive. Again, it's picking and choosing. It's like, oh, be aggressive, but not there, not that way. Give me a break. Just give me a break. Lewis, what's up? No Watson, no Reed, 3 O-line down, glass half full. Well, that is a glass half full, and it is. You should take that away from this performance on offense. What they were doing tonight, putting up points, marching the ball down the field, up and down the field, that's a really good offensive performance. In that environment with that cast, it's very well done. Riley, thank you. Is this another year where we lose in the playoffs due to special teams? I don't want that story again, Riley. I can't right now. Let's beat the Bengals. All right. I can't handle the idea of A, the playoffs at all, and B, losing a playoff game, and C, losing it because of special teams. I'm not there right now. My headspace is on the Cowboys game and then beating the Bengals, and that's it. Rob, what's up, man? What was Nixon doing on that deep ball on the sidelines, just standing there? Rob, I'm going to need you to be a little more specific. There were a couple of deep balls. If you're talking about the one that Dak threw on the right side, I'm pretty sure he thinks Dak is throwing it out of bounds and or away, or trying to make a desperate heave, but didn't think the receiver was going to get to it. Phenomenal play by, I think it was Torbert, not Torbert. What was the receiver? I can't remember the receiver's name because it wasn't Pickens, but it's just a phenomenal play by the receiver. Brian, thank you, sir. I quaffed a carry the G walking into the Brown Stadium last weekend, by the way. Just wanted you to know it's been drunk in Ohio. Go Pack Go from an Oshkosh guy. Brian, thank you for being a Carry the G Club member. Really appreciate you. Raha, what's up? I wouldn't be mad if we did a fair catch on every punt ever. Man, Golden was all over the map tonight. I mean, between the spin move where he gets like absolutely leveled to whatever that was in the flat, which is apparently a wide receiver screen that he then tries to double back around through the offensive backfield. He got saved because they had the penalty for kicking his head afterwards. Like, man, he was all over the map tonight. But it's a rookie. Stuff is going to happen, right? But getting back to the punt returns, yeah, man, I don't know. Like we talked about last week, the most obvious thing in the world was to bring McCole Hardman up from the practice squad and put him back there. That ain't how they work in Green Bay. The most obvious stuff is never the stuff they do. So, we're going to have adventures back there, apparently. Miles, what's up? How many Packers teams in years past can't block, can't tackle, and struggle on teams? This is not one of those. Please tell me. I mean, they could block. They blocked well tonight. They couldn't block last week. But again, after the first kind of drive or two, and even on the first drive, they scored, right? They held up well, considering who they had playing in that on the road. Like, that's a good performance from the offensive line on balance. Can't tackle and struggle on teams? I'll have to get back to you on that one. Hopefully the tackling improves, and I suspect it will. Joe, thank you, sir. Does this mean we don't lose Halfley next year? I mean, we can stop making stuff up, right? Glass half full? Tom, what's up? Rich should be gone tomorrow. Every special teams play is an error. Well, Tom, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but that ain't how the Packers operate. It's not how Matt's going to operate, and that's how bad teams operate. So they're going to keep at it. They're going to try and get better, and hopefully that's what we watch and see occur throughout the remainder of this season. All right, buddy, I'm going to have to get going. Cannot thank you enough for hanging out after that insane game. Cannot believe the Packers tied 40-40. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly should be real easy this week. The good, the offense. The bad, the defense. The ugly, special teams. Done. Thank you, everybody. I don't try to make light of any of your questions or any of your concerns about the team or anything like that. Just remember, it's a very long season. The Packers are now 2-1-1, going into a bye week where hopefully they do get a little healthier and work some kinks out and hit the ground running when they play the Bengals and they go on a deep run. That is the hope, right? Very, very frustrating game at times, but also some real progress. I mean, the way they played up front on offense is very promising. The stuff you got from Kennard and even Jordan Morgan, who I thought played a good game again. Overall, that's good stuff. And as someone mentioned earlier, you're down Watson. You don't have Watson. You don't have Reed. And you got Romeo Doubs coming to the fore, which, by the way, we talked about past week on Packers Daily. Golden getting involved again. Savion Williams getting the ball in his hands. You love to see it. Although I've got to say, my favorite play of that whole game was that deep shot, which was clearly to Wicks that Golden stole from him. That's going to be a fun time in the tape room tomorrow, only because it worked. All right, buddy. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow with Packers Daily after I've watched the tape. Sounding like a coach, which I am certainly not, but I do like to watch the tape and try to figure stuff out. And we'll hear from Matt LaFleur tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully we'll get an update on Devontae Wyatt at some point during the day tomorrow. But in the meantime, please hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family, CHTV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.